Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, when you hit your teens, life ain't really what it seems. Try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to I don't want no fake love, I want the real stuff. Everybody listen up, cause I'll only say it once. I'm gonna show you all the path, if you want it bad. I'm gonna show you where it's at, yeah, how you can get it back. Yeah, cause I ain't never done, I'll be number one. Working hella hard until I get just what I want, yeah. Rises like the sun, yeah, fatal like a gun. Shooter's gonna shoot and I'm gonna shoot it. Always do it on my own, so
How's everyone doing?
get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I
I think you
finally
go for another
prove it.
thing.
Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed.
How y'all doing
feel my
today?
own
Everyone good?
adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and
Anyone
I
got
hope you
some
let
stress?
let me in, yeah.
Oh, what's going on over here? Ooh, okay. We might have breaking news.
I'm grateful, oh yeah.
So, I was going to do Dan McKellen right now, but there's some news on... There's some news on Asmongold, so I kind of want to check this out first. We'll check out Asmongold, and then we'll get back to Dan. And calm. I know. All right, let's check out.
What's up, guys? We're here.
Going on over
So
here
it's been a
first.
very chaotic weeks in the streaming world, especially on Twitch. Ever since the 2-week ban of Asmongold, Twitch has essentially opened Pandora's box. In their attempt to quell the outrage from people on social media who are upset about Asmongold's comments about Israel and Palestine, they created a new precedent for the website. Basically, if you say certain comments about sensitive and political issues, you could receive a 2-week ban, or even worse. Now, that standard is being used against other streamers on the platform where people are saying, hey, Twitch, why is this person spreading extreme beliefs not getting the same ban that someone like Asmongold got for his comments? Now, it's been a very rocky couple of weeks for Twitch, who's been doing their best to sort of do damage control. Unfortunately,
Yeah, I noticed even Nick has turned against Asmongold, which I think is pretty low. I don't know about Moist Critical. I don't know about... I don't know who that other jerk is, but the Nick and there's another guy who's just really disingenuous, who's just really off-putting, but they're popular because part of that group. He's one that owns the gym. They're really they're not liking him. I'm actually very proud that Emiru has not distanced herself from Asmongold, and I hope she doesn't. That shows really strong character if she stays both his friend and his coworker throughout this entire thing. So I hope she has that kind of character.
Dan Clancy, the CEO of Twitch, is not doing a very good job. As you can see, he took a break from scrolling through the hot tubs and pool section to make this tweet, where unfortunately he kept the template in here saying, tweet copy before talking about the harassment that they don't tolerate on their platform, which is obviously a very bad look. Now, another thing has come out recently. This is a little bit of a clip from apparently the global policy and customer support head at Twitch. And when you hear what he has to say about
the video that I actually wanted to do, I was watching right before I went to work. It was on the Bible as literature. And unfortunately, I can't find the video. So we're going to do this video here, which was not planned. Then we're going to do some Dan McKellen, which is planned. Then we're going to do some Redeem Zoomer from a secret stream that How to Be Christian shared, which is going to be interesting. And then I don't know how TYT is about watching their videos, but there's a debate with Gank on Israel, where he's debating an Israeli journalist, and that should be the night. But if not, we have backups with Alex O'Connor with the more questions for atheists, and with his other video that we were watching, the one with Cliff. So we have a full night tonight. I don't know how much we're going to get through, but yeah, it's going to be good.
United States, it all starts to make sense why certain views are being allowed and certain views are being punished.
Like the saying goes, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
I do like the shirt that says better coverage than Verizon, which is the red. I do think that's a clever shirt. I'm just going to say that. Oh, that's what it was. There's a political video on Trump that I wanted to watch, but I don't know where it was. I don't know where the video is. I'll look for it right now.
2016 was not a fluke. Donald Trump is the most American president we ever had, and he reflects who America really is. America is a racist country. America is a country that will prioritize a white candidate who is riddled with controversy and inadequacy and racism and bigotry over a highly qualified woman, over a highly qualified person of color.
So yeah, like I said, it's not too surprising we have the standards that we do with Twitch when someone in a position like this thinks an entire country is racist. But anyways, Asmongold has taken upon himself a few days ago to basically go out there on a quest to expose Twitch's hypocrisy. Now, everyone knows Twitch is very hypocritical when it comes to the application of their rules. It's always been that way. The classic example is comparing the treatment of VTubers who might get a month-long ban if they show a millimeter of their hip versus cam girls who pretty much get away with anything. But there's something even more insidious here and a lot more serious. What Asmongold is talking about with exposing Twitch for their bias moderation, he's speaking to extreme content and things that are just absolutely mind-boggling that Twitch would ever have any patience for the sort of stuff existing on their platform. Now, here is a video from his clip channel. It pretty much sums up everything that you need to know for the context of why he's doing this. Let's start off here.
This guy's Central Committee got banned 3 or 4 days ago because in plain English put out a hit on Destiny.
Holy shit, guys. If you live in Florida, I have an opportunity for you. If you want to earn 100...
Yeah, that ain't fucking cool. That guy definitely should have gotten banned. That's not okay. I don't like Destiny, but people shouldn't be able to do that. Oh, there it is. Legal Eagle. So we might do Legal Eagle next before we get into the debate between Redeem Zoomer and Catechumen. I think we might do Legal Eagle next. What? What happened? Here. Talk to the audience. Don't talk to me, okay? If you're going to talk to the audience. Brr. Here. Tell them what's up. Come on, share your political opinions and talk about religion. Is the Bible literally true, or is the Bible metaphorically true? Is the Bible literature? What do you think about Dr. Joshua Bowen and his bow tie? Okay, we got a little reaction. Okay, what's better, dry food or wet food? Dry food? Wet food? Do you like the clumpy litter or do you prefer the sandy litter? Okay. That's all right. It's all right. Everyone gets shy. It's okay. You'll get better at it.
$100,000, let me know.
If Twitch
Yeah, that's insane, by the way. A felony, what he just did there. And what's even more insane is that's not even, like, the first time this week we've talked about people putting a bounty on a streamer's head. Like, say what you want about Destiny. I'm certainly not a Destiny fan, but that doesn't warrant or give you the ability to put a monetary bounty.
Okay, so it looks like today might be a good show. For those who are watching a little bit later, who are coming into the show a little bit late, have you subscribed to my 2 other channels? I have a second channel where I cover exercise, working out, vlogging, that kind of stuff. It's called Wanna Work Out. Right now, it's really heavy into skateboarding. Yes, I'm old. I still skateboard. So what? And then my other channel, my alt channel, which is Thought4, which is the same as my gamer tag if you want to play games with me. And over there, I just covered Absolute Batman. So please go subscribe to those channels. Go watch those channels.
On someone's head. That's insane. And as he points out here, look at this.
Banned him. That means that Twitch knows that something happened that was wrong. And they are
3 days. He got a 3-day ban for essentially committing a felony live on their platform. 3 days versus someone like Asmongold, who got a 2-week ban. And then, again, if you want to go further and talk about things like with VTubers where they show too much of their hip, they get a month-long suspension. But this guy gets 3 days. That's insane.
also acknowledging that for putting a hit out on another real person on a live stream with a $100,000 incentive,
don't get excited.
that
Don't get
only
excited.
gets
I shouldn't
you
have done
a
that. Sorry.
3-day ban. This is
Which is honestly an improvement. Like I was mentioning a few seconds ago, we talked about the whole Denims TV situation where I reported a couple days ago that Asmongold was contacted by the FBI because of her comments about how she was putting a bounty on other people's heads over Stellar Blade drama, and Asmongold would not pursue any charges because at the time he mistakenly thought her comments were about him, but in reality they were about Mark Kern. And honestly, back then she got no suspension, so the fact that they even gave anything for this is improvement, I guess.
insane. This is crazy. Mike from PA threatens to DMCA Asmongold, source LSF.
If you watch any of my content, you don't have a license, I will DMCA you. I don't give you any consent to review my content. I don't.
Yeah, that's not how it works, buddy. Like, it's the same, like, you got a license for that type energy, but his editor would go through and basically start going through the streams here, but yeah, if you want to go with that standard about having a license.
Hey, you got a license for that? Hey, you got a license for that? Hey, you got a license for that?
I went and I said that if this guy doesn't get banned for 2 weeks, I'm going to bring Dan Saltman all of the information.
Look at how
that's
much she
going to
likes
come out
that.
has
She's
not
so
come out. Some
weird.
of the most damaging information.
I'm gonna do it one more
has
time.
not
I'm
come
gonna do it
out.
one more time.
And so
And by the way, if you're wondering who he's referring to this Dan right here, who has been on Twitch's ass for a very long time. If you scroll through his account, you'll find tons of examples of crazy stuff
do you
going
like that?
on
You're
Twitch that has
so
gone completely
strange.
unpunished. But yeah, he's saying here that he wants to go out and expose Twitch even more and basically push their buttons to the point where they either have to ban him, it look like giant hypocrites, or they just take the L, which either way, Twitch is going to suffer from whatever he plans
You know what? After I come back from China, I need to set up a secondary camera that's just her.
to do next.
So what would you do if they auto-ban you the moment you bring them on? Well, if I'm trying to hold the platform accountable for allowing people that openly commit felonies and use the platform as a vehicle to commit felonies, and I get banned for that, honestly, rip bozo. If this is an extremist website that is meant to house
Deal with Asmongold, his next little quest to try to prove some of the hypocrisy, and we'll see how that goes in the coming days. But some people weren't too happy about that whole quest, and one of those people was Hassan Piker. Now, for context, he's talking about this streamer who had their stream demonetized because he put Iran as one of the tags in his stream. And that's some sort of geo-locking nonsense where they're trying to basically prevent some content from certain regions. But you can see he blames Asmongold for this and also for an upcoming adpocalypse that apparently is also his fault.
I just want you to understand, by the way, when Asmongold is making threats like this is the result, okay? When you partner up with cynical fucking assholes who just simply...
And I think we watched Hassan say this yesterday, so I'm going to move on to Legal Eagle, and then from there we'll get back on to everything else. And I am going to try to diversify everything that we're covering because, like I said, coming back from China, we're going to have to go in a whole new direction. Even if I get a master's in writing, my passion is in biblical scholarship, and I don't have the time or the money to go to a legit school for biblical critical scholarship. I just don't. I did, but I quit that job, and I didn't have the time at that job. So I don't have the money to both put my dad in a assisted living facility and support a family in China and pay for my cats and go to full-time schooling for my DVA or my MVid or something else. I would love to do philosophy of religion as a major. I would love to do to get my master's or doctorate in biblical critical scholarship, whatever that might be, whether it be Old Testament, New Testament, probably more New Testament. I don't know. I don't see too many people doing much on the Apocrypha. That would be a cool place to study and to have fun. I have interest in Greek in that period, in that time. But regardless, I'm probably going to have to settle for a master's in writing. And I'm going to have to be good with that. So, different conversation, different day. I just wanted to bring that up because we did talk about it a little more extensively yesterday.
This is gonna be so bad. Well, get ready for Trump's project.
Okay, so the reason why we're going to do this one is because Legal Eagle says a lot of wrong, incorrect bullshit that is really problematic and is going to continue the downward spiral of the Democratic Party, which is not good. And I will explain my stance on this and the religious aspects of it in just a little bit. Yeah, but me and Mindshift don't get along. I literally did 4 videos on him, and he emailed me directly and asked me never to talk about him ever again. He's a fucking pussy. And I just demonetized myself for this week, for this video. Fuck. Anyway, he's a pussy. He can't take real criticism. He can take Trent Horn, but if you actually get down to the nitty gritty, he can't take it. So I don't know. There's nothing I could do there. And if I started doing videos on him again, he's probably just gonna either copyright claim my videos. Yeah, he's a pussy. He's a fucking pussy. I did 4 videos on him, and he was like, "You made too much content, and I that's too much for me to respond to. That's not what I'm doing." I've had other people do that as well, and whatever. But yeah, Mindshift is a total pussy. I'm not the smartest person in the world to do a video responding to him, so I don't know why he acted like it was too much for him to handle. But yeah. All right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna get my little healthy drink. I'm sorry, I gotta get up. I know. Here. There you go. Oops, I gotta take off the headset. I'm sorry. I can't do it. There you go. Down you go. Yeah, so BS, just to be very clear, it's when he first launched his channel and I did those 4 videos responding to him. And I called him out for being a previous YouTuber. Some of this content is stuff from a previous version of himself from a few years ago. And I said, I'm not sure if it's the same guy, but it seems like the same guy. Anyway, when I got into that kind of criticism of him, he just immediately shut down. And he asked me not to respond to him anymore, or if I did respond, that he wouldn't respond back. And that was the end of that. So I was like, well, if he doesn't want to do it, I won't. It's just like with the Catholic apologist who was a pussy and tried to sue me. Fuck it. If he doesn't want to be on my channel, I'm not going to feature him. I'm not looking to make enemies. If you can't take criticism, don't be on YouTube. And if you're going to be on YouTube and you can't take criticism, I don't need to ruin someone's life. I don't need to give someone shit. If they don't like me reacting to their stuff, I won't react to it. It's just that simple. I'm not looking to make friends, but I'm also not looking to make enemies. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't like my critique, like not as in you don't agree with my critique, but as in you don't like the fact that I'm critiquing you, there's 1,000 other channels that I can watch and do responses to. So why am I going to give him extra airtime if he doesn't, want to play ball with me? Now, don't get me wrong. If Mindshift was saying like dangerous stuff, like Vigilant Christian Mario was, then I don't give a fuck if he's offended. I will attack all of his ideas. But there's nothing that Mindshift is saying that is like dangerous. So, if he doesn't like my way of doing critiquing, I'd rather not make an enemy. But yeah, that's just my opinion, BS. I'm not attacking him. I'm not defending him. But it's like if someone is like saying stuff that I think is dangerous, like Mike Winger sometimes says stuff that is dangerous, even though I've apologized for the way that I attacked him. I will gladly make videos on them, even if they don't like it. But Mindshift is just saying basic anti-theist stuff, basic anti-theist rhetoric, and he doesn't like the way that I critique him. So why poke the bear? So again, that's just me. I know maybe I'm a nice guy. Maybe I'm the pussy because I don't want to fucking start a fight with him. But yeah, it is what it is. Let's continue on.
Project 2025, because Trump surrogates are already admitting that Project 2025 was the plan the whole time. But yeah, this is going to be terrible, and not in a politics as usual way. If you win the presidency...
To be fair, I don't remember if it was an email or a direct message or a private message. I don't remember. I did 4 videos on him. He asked me to stop, so I stopped.
You get to issue your own executive orders and rescind the prior guys and sign legislation into law. If you're elected, you get to pull the levers that Congress has delegated to you. To the victor, go the spoils. But what we're about to see is changing the rules. Already admitting that Project 2025 was...
Okay, so let's get back to what I wanted to talk about with Legal Eagle. Hold on. Closed caption is up.
This is going to be so bad. Well...
So right here, listen to this part right here. This is so stupid of Legal Eagle.
Get ready for Trump's Project 2025, because Trump surrogates are already admitting that Project 2025 was the plan.
So, Project 2025 is not a Trumpian plan. Trump has already disavowed it. And the people who were saying that now 2025 was the plan the whole time, they were trolling. Legal Eagle, you're falling for a troll. You're falling for a 4chan meme. Just like there was a 4chan meme fucking 4 years ago when Trump lost the last time, and you guys fucking went all crazy about things that he said. It's not real. It's a meme. It's a fake thing. It's like the OK symbol being a hate symbol. It's a fake meme to see if you'll fall for the bait. Matt Walsh is trolling. You cannot be this stupid if you think you're going to represent the Democratic Party going forward. If you think you're speaking for a group, you cannot be this gullible. If you're this gullible and you're this stupid, then you should stop calling yourself Legal Eagle. You should get off the internet and you should fucking take a break for like maybe a month and then come back in with fresh eyes. Because these are trolls. These guys are trolling you. These guys don't represent conservatism, they don't represent republicanism, and they don't represent Donald Trump. So you got to chill the fuck out. I already said fuck enough times. I'm just going to keep saying it for the rest of this video. In my next video, I'll go back to not cussing.
And the whole time. But yeah, this is going to be terrible, and not in a politics as usual way. If you win the presidency, you get to issue your own executive orders and rescind the prior guys and sign legislation into law. If
That's correct.
you're elected, you get to pull the levers that Congress has delegated to you. To the victor, go the spoils. But what...
Hold on. Because this is also slightly misleading. Give me 1 second. Please don't put my address. Hey, that's not what I wanted. It doesn't matter. Okay. Google. Google me this. Oh, that's not Google. Whatever. All right. Google. Doesn't put my name. Okay, good. All right. Powers. Okay, so what are the presidential powers? Hold on, let me fix that screen just a little bit. Presidential powers: make treaties with the approval of the Senate. With the approval of the Senate. Veto bills and sign bills, which again can be overridden by both the Senate and the House after the veto is done by using a supermajority and passing the law anyway and overriding the veto. Represent the nation in talks with foreign countries. Really be a ceremonial head. Enforce the laws the Congress passes. Act as commander-in-chief during war. Call out troops to protect our nation. There's also a War Powers Act. I think it's 40 days. Let me see. Make suggestions. That's not an actual power. Be the metaphorical leader of his political party. There's actually like a real leader, and then there's him. He's like the ceremonial head, both of the nation and of his party. Recognize foreign powers, grant pardons, nominate cabinet members to the Supreme Court. That's actually an important power. Appoint ambassadors, talk directly to the people about problems. Again, he's just a mouthpiece. Represent the best interests of the people. Where's the War Parties Act? So basically, he can declare war for like 30 days or 40 days without approval. Where is it? It doesn't say it here. But he can't make laws. He can't declare war for an extended period of time. He can't decide how federal money will be spent. He can't interpret laws, and he can't choose cabinet members or Supreme Court justices without Senate approval. So, just FYI, don't let Legal Eagle scare the shit out of you because he's being overdramatic because he suffers from TDS, from Trump derangement syndrome.
What we're about to see is changing the rules midstream. What we're about to see is pure dirty pool. This is going to be bad.
It's not going to be bad. It has the potential to be bad, but every single president has the potential to be bad.
And I feel comfortable using that normative language because what we're about to see is not only someone who is unbound by laws, mores, norms, and tradition, but someone that controls all three branches of government. And
just to be very clear, he doesn't control all three branches of government, and that's actually part of the problem. You have majorities now in the Republican Party, and all branches of government are now controlled by the Republican Party, which means that if one bad law that most Republicans agree on gets through, the filter is now gone. You need a healthy government. You need balance of power. You need checks and balances. So if the Republicans control the Senate, you need the Democrats to control the House. If the Republicans control the House, you need Democrats to control the Senate. If the legislative branch is controlled by one party or the other party, Democrat or Republican, you need the opposite party in the executive branch. So if the entire legislative branch is going to be Republican, you need a Democrat in the office. If you're going to have the entire legislative branch be Democrat, then you need a Republican in the office. You need checks and balances so that way bad laws can be filtered out. Yes, some bad laws will still get through, but for the most part, bad ideas will be filtered out because only the ideas that both sides agree upon, assuming it's healthy, good faith opposition, only the good laws will get through. That's what you want. And you have a judicial branch, so that way, should those two systems, should that filtration system not work, the judicial branch is there to reinterpret the law and to explain what the law should be based on the Constitution. If you change the Constitution, that's a problem. If you change, if everyone's in control of with just one branch or just one way of thinking, there's less filtration. So you need a healthy government. You need a robust government that's healthy. You need a strong opposition. That's what you want. You don't want everyone to agree because then even the worst ideas can get through. So let's say Trump stays true to his word. No one's saying that he's going to. Let's pretend that he stays true to his word from this campaign. And he really isn't going to support abortion. He really isn't going to support an abortion ban. He really is going to support women's rights. But this House and the Senate, after they get the law vetoed that they want to pass, then use a supermajority and then pass the law, and now that is law and it overrides his veto, then the law is going to reflect a Republican Christian base and not the leader, the ceremonial head of the government, being the president. is not going to reflect his values. It's going to reflect the Republican Christian values. That's the issue. That's what's going on. So you actually, if you're a Democrat watching this, you want Trump's Democratic roots to be showing, and you want him to veto all the bad laws, because right now he's the only filter protecting you from Christian idealism, from Republican nationalism. He is your protection. And idiots like this guy who hate Trump just because Trump says stupid shit are going to get us in trouble, because you're going to push more and more agenda and propaganda, which is going to turn more and more people off. Exactly the same problem that's happening with Christianity today. The reason why people are leaving Christianity today are going to be the reason why people are leaving the woke progressive religion. And what's going to happen is you're going to have red all the time. And you can't have just the Democrats be in control, and you can't have just the Republicans be in control. You know why all the crazy bad laws that the Republicans hate happened? Is because the Democrats have been in power for a very long time. So some of their worst ideas, and I don't just mean in power legislatively, I also mean and politically. I'm talking about they're in power in social media, they're in power in entertainment. So that means Hollywood, video games, comic books are all pushing one ideal. And that ideology is all encompassing. And so the Republicans and conservatives are pushing back hard. And so you're going to have people losing powers. Thank you, BS. I'm just being logical and reasonable here. But I appreciate the compliment. So you can't have that happen without the pendulum being raised higher. So therefore, it's going to swing back the other way even further. Raised higher and swing back the other way even further. So by doing that, you now are going to have Republicans push the most extremes of the Republican side. This is not healthy for our government, for our nation, for the world. We need to pull back on both sides. And that's what's going on. You need to have entertainment that feeds to the center. You need to have entertainment that feeds to the far right and the far left. You need that. You need to have people be able to express themselves. You need to have comic books that have more than one ideal. I love watching all types of entertainment. But at the end of the day, I still have my opinion. And you have to be able to express that opinion and to disagree with each other and still be friends, still be co-workers, still be family. If you can't disagree with each other, then you're no longer living in a democracy. All right, let's continue on.
This is a type of unmitigated control. It's a type we've never really seen in this country. And in particular, because a lot of this deals with...
That's not true. Under Obama, Democrats had complete control for like 2 years. And they did nothing with it, but they had complete control. And I'm not sure if under Clinton that was also true for a short amount of time. But there have been times that the Democratic Party had total control, executive, legislative, and judicial. So, don't lie.
...with and relies on the judiciary, it will take probably 40 years to undo what's about to happen. But because I'm a masochist, I can...
Again, you don't know what's about to happen. You're not a psychic. You're not a prophet. Yes, things could go terribly wrong, but that could happen with any president.
Compiled a list of all the crazy legal stuff that I expect in the first few years of the second Trump administration. Now, this will be an unusual video because I'm making some guesses here. Politics is not an exact science, and law is the byproduct of politics. So these are just my predictions.
And fear-mongering is dangerous. It's dangerous when Christian pastors do it. It's dangerous when evangelicals do it. And it's dangerous when atheistic lawyers from New York do it.
And we can check back in a year or two and see how we did. Frankly, I think I'm going to underestimate the amount of crazy stuff that's about to happen. Now, there's 3 categories of things that I expect. The first is things that Trump can do immediately without further approval, like executive orders. Then there's stuff where it's unclear if
executive orders is a legit thing.
approval is needed. It's a legal gray area, or you can just force it through illegally, especially if you have a compliant judiciary. And then there's
that what he said right there is complete bullshit. That's complete bullshit. Trump does not have a mandate to break the law. Now, is it possible that controlling the House, the Senate, the executive and the judiciary, you could make a constitutional amendment to change the law? Yes. Is that a real fear that people should have? Yes. Is that a fear people should act on? No. You have 2 years to elect people into Congress that are of the opposition party. Or hell, make a unity party. Make a third party. Who gives a shit? You can get people in there. But you got to stop with the fear-mongering, stop with the propaganda, and start building good candidates. And if you can't build them, find them.
Stuff that would definitely require further approval from something like Congress, things like passing legislation. But let's start with the executive. First of all, the guardrails are gone. There are not going to be any adults in.
Bullshit, fear-mongering, propaganda. The law still exists, Constitution still exists, and most Republicans love America and love the Constitution. And they're Christian, which means that they are pre-programmed not to lie, not to cheat, not to steal. They understand through moral intuition that these things are wrong. If you have a Muslim in office, that Muslim is pre-exposed from their religion to believe certain things. If you have a Hindu has certain moral guidelines. So be grateful that the Christians and Republicans seem to be the same group. You want to attack them on their morals and their ethics, and they will squeal like pigs. You hypocrite.
In the room. It appears that Trump has learned his lesson from hiring institutionalists the first time around and is just going to hire every toady and troll he possibly.
John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy is not a toad. He's not a toad. He's not a troll. He's not a toady. He's not a bootlicker. He's a problem. If you look at who Trump is appointing, he's appointing problems. He's not appointing solutions. He's appointing problems. He's picking the people who hate these systems. He's running on a mandate to get rid of the current administration that's been there for the last 20 years. He wants to drain the swamp. He's going to do that by putting in the people who hate these systems. So if you hate the IRS, you're probably going to be running the IRS. If you hate, the media, you're now going to be in charge of media outreach. Okay, that's what he's doing. He's fulfilling his promises, and he's doing it in the craziest way possible. He's having fun. I would not be surprised. I know that people have been making this joke, but I would not be surprised if he makes Alex Jones his press secretary. It really is possible because he wants to give a middle finger to all of you. And when I said that all of the government and all of the media was one-sided, I'm including the Fourth Estate. The fact that the Fourth Estate has become the effective mouthpiece for Democratic progressive talking points is also not healthy. Does that mean that the press should be using conservative talking points? Hell no. But they should be balanced, and they should be telling the truth, and they should be pushing back against both the Republicans and the Democrats. They should be pushing back against both the extreme right and the extreme left, not because being moderate or centrist is correct, but because it's their job to tell the truth to the American people. And if you're presenting just one side, that's not the truth.
Possibly can. And as we'll discuss, there's a very good chance that he fires a lot of the nonpartisan career civil service. He would certainly fire Jack Smith immediately if Jack Smith is still there. And as we covered in one of the last videos,
And I'll be honest with you, BS. I trust a Muslim. I trust a Hindu. I trust a Taoist. I like those religious way of thinking. I don't agree with them. I definitely don't agree with Muslims on their understanding of God or their understanding of mercy or forgiveness. But I understand their ideology, and I respect their ideology, and I've studied their ideology. There are ideologies that I think are terrible and harmful and destructive. Fuentes, that guy, I don't like that guy. That guy, honestly, should be in jail. You talk about someone like, the 3K people. Get them out. That's a bad ideology. Socialism, that's a bad ideology. There are bad ideologies in the world. That being said, I don't think Christianity is a bad ideology. I know me and you disagree on that. I don't think Islam is a bad ideology. I know me and you disagree on that. I don't think Hinduism is a bad ideology. I don't think Buddhism is a bad ideology. I like these ideologies. I study them for a reason. I enjoy them.
Looks like Jack Smith may not be around because of the interplay between the 1973 OLC memo and the fact that it's DOJ policy that the executive branch can't prosecute the president himself. And on that score, I'd probably expect pardons for the January
Look at that, man.
6ers and other reprobates.
I don't like that he calls them reprobates. I would call them dissidents. But do I think that it's possible that Trump will sign a executive order or a blanket pardon for the people involved? I think so. I think it's possible.
Now, usually presidents wait to issue pardons until the end of their term, but Trump is already a lame duck. And since some of those prosecutions are going on
He is not already a lame duck.
right now, you might expect the pardons sooner rather than later. It would also be super trolly and lib triggering, so that's another
But see, he does have a point there. Trump is going to do a lot of this stuff just to be lib triggering. I'm telling you, he is I think that's the one place that Legal Eagle is correct. I think he is going to troll. So I could see Alex Jones be press secretary. You know, I could see him appointing a Christian as outreach to, atheists. Like if there was like a department of atheist outreach, he would do it. He just created Dogecoin as a department. Okay, he's trolling people. He's being a dick. Did you hear the joke he was saying at his? I don't know if it was today or last night, where he's like, I mean, I don't want to run for another for a third term, but if you guys really want me to, I mean, that's what they say I'm going to do anyway, so I might as well do it. I mean, he's really trolling hard. He's not being nice.
reason why I expect Trump to do it. No, I don't really expect him to pardon himself, except maybe on the way out to pardon himself for everything that he does between 2025 and 2029.
Again, there's no proof of this. It's all subjective. This is pure opinion. It's possible Trump won't do anything illegal. Not likely, but it's possible.
Mainly because he doesn't need to pardon himself for anything he did prior to taking office, because he has escaped justice. All the federal prosecutions are dead because he was elected.
And listen to the bias there. He has escaped justice. You don't know that he's guilty. You just assume that he's guilty based on your prejudice against him. A trial hasn't happened.
And the state prosecutions are probably on hold, but are effectively dead because they can't.
And the stuff that he's already been considered a felon for, that's already done. So he's guilty of stuff he's been found guilty of, but in America we have a presumption of innocence. And you're a lawyer. You should know better. You should be talking more intelligently. And you're exposing yourself to possible litigation should he decide to sue everybody. Which, being a president, you can talk about him a little bit more loosely. I know that, so maybe you're okay. But still, you should know better than to speak this loose.
Prosecute while he's
as a lawyer.
Presumptively. I mean, we don't know how the Supreme Court will rule, but we definitely know how the Supreme Court would rule. You can expect a complete clown show of a cabinet. At this point, all the respect.
I don't agree with him that it'd be a complete clown show, but it's already entertaining and fun.
People and institutionalists have learned their lesson and know that Trump has no loyalty, so they don't want anything to do with him. And Trump doesn't want anything to
He's basically talking about him like he's Penguin.
do with them. Now, we already know a few. Marco Rubio has been pegged for Secretary of State. Homeland Security and Chief Puppy Killer Kristi Noem. Tom Homan has been pegged.
I love that he made Tulsi Gabbard the head of the CIA. That's fucking awesome. That's a choice. I would not be surprised if she doesn't run for president in the Republican Party as the Republican candidate for president in 4 years. Honest truth. And you know what? Truth be told, I can't think of a better candidate. So yeah, I'd vote for Tulsi Gabbard for president. Why not?
As the border czar, he wrote the immigration section of Project 2025, by the way. And drink up, kids, because Matt Gaetz is going to be AG. So expect a whole bunch more in Project 2025, folks, as well as appointments doled out as political rewards to reward people who were loyal to Trump. And, oh my God, he's nominating Fox morning anchor Pete Hegseth to Secretary of Defense. This is definitely the bad place. And while Trump has a Senate...
No, it's not the bad place, but it is funny as hell. And this is a consequence of all the bad propaganda coming out of the left. Trump was a response to Democratic and progressive overreach initially. And it was a joke election. Well, he was playing a character of Trump, and he won anyway the first time. Now, years later, not playing a character, being more himself, which again, we don't know who his real self is, but he's being more himself, being more human. He won again. So maybe you should not worry about Trump and listen to the American people and think about what they want and actually serve them, because it's a government by the people for the people. So maybe if you want to win another election, you should actually do things the majority of the Americans want and offer them solutions to problems the majority of Americans have.
Majority to rubber stamp most of his appointments, he appears to be demanding that the Senate enter a recess so he can appoint everyone with a recess appointment without Senate confirmation at all, which tells you something, that some of these people are going to be so unpalatable that even a Republican-controlled Senate would not consent to them. And
I'm sorry, but the majority of Americans are probably loving that.
as I said, expect a complete gutting of the administrative state, just firing any career civil servant who isn't out-and-out loyal to Trump and MAGA. Now, this is
I don't think you have to be loyal to MAGA. You just have to not have been an asshole for the last 4 years, and a lot of people were assholes. And I'll be honest with you, if he doesn't fire the lady who killed the squirrel, I'm going to be upset with Trump. I want Trump to fire that chick. Like, I don't want people to get fired, but if people are going to get fired, I want the lady who killed Peanut the squirrel and put that order. I want her gone. Get her out of her office. Get her out. Get her out. If there's a way for Trump to get her out of her office, maybe go make her work at a PetSmart as reparations. I'm down. I'm good with that.
is going to be a high priority for Trump because during his first term, his ambitions were thwarted by people who weren't blindingly loyal. And as our own Liz Dye explained, Project 2025 is not just a policy blueprint. It was also meant as a recruiting tool to help
I don't know who Liz Dye is, but whatever.
identify people who are all in on Trumpism. And the end goal is to get rid of all civil servants and replace them with right-wing ideologues. So on day one, expect Trump to reinstate his Schedule F, which he did at the end of his first term, which is a Trump executive order that purports to let him reclassify a ton of federal employees, as many as 50.
And again, the majority of Americans support this. So even if it is a bad idea, again, I'm not saying that just because we are a democracy and we need to have majority rule, which we do, I'm not saying that that means that the majority rule is always right. I've always been one to go against the crowd. I've never gone with the flow. That's not who I am. I wish I was, but I am not. I don't go with the flow. I stick out like a sore thumb, and I go my own direction. And sometimes that direction happens to match the way that everyone else is going, but the moment they turn this way and I'm still going the same direction, it's very obvious I'm not with the group. So even in saying that, majority rule is the way democracy works. You got to suck it up, buddy.
50,000 of them to be treated the same as political appointees so he can fire them. Generally, civil servants have some protections, but political appointees can be hired and fired at will by the president. This executive order basically removed all the protections and said that they were treated the same as political appointees. And if Trump just simply fires all those people and lets them battle it out in court, then the battle is won anyway. He either has to undo the Office of Personnel Management Regulation through rulemaking, which would take some time, or he'll have to ignore the existing reg, which is legally impermissible, technically. Now, the norm for basically forever was to leave the career staff in place so the government could actually function from one administration to the other. And this
Yeah, but almost all of the United States believes that is wrong. They believe there should be term limits. There should be limits to office, to the amount of times you can be in an office. They believe there should be age limits on how long people can be in governmental positions. This is not something that just crazy people are saying. This is not just something that extremists are saying. This is something that the majority of Americans, even people on the left, are saying. So Trump is doing what the people want, even if you don't like it, because he's the one doing it.
This would be a monumental shattering of norms. But this appears to be part of a larger plan to gut the administrative state to make it not work at all. Trump might just fire them all. It would be an easy way to punish detractors by removing clearances or preventing them from getting a security clearance. And also expect Trump to remove any protections for whistleblowers, which he can simply do through executive order. And
Why would you expect that, though? Why would you expect that, though?
speaking of a clown car cabinet, it appears that RFK Jr. is slated to be the head of the CDC, the FDA, and God only knows
This is insane that he's saying this.
what else. Now, historically, the Supreme Court has sided with state authorities to mandate vaccines to protect public health, but that consensus was unsettled after COVID when some courts struck down vaccine mandates. Now, RFK Jr. said he will be given the authority to ban vaccines.
There's no vaccine that is, safe and effective.
And who knows here? The Food and Drug Administration has the primary responsibility for approving vaccines and pulling them from the market. It works in concert with the Center for Disease Control, and we don't know what role, if any, Trump's going to give.
So here's the deal with that, and it's very simple. There is nothing that is 100% safe, okay? Ow. Gentle. There is nothing that is 100% safe. So this goes for birth, this goes for abortion, this goes for vaccines, this goes for getting your tooth pulled. So whenever you go get dental work, you have to sign a thing that says it's possible you might die. You could get a clot, and you could get a stroke, or you could get a heart. Is it a heart attack? There's like 3 things you can get while getting surgery. That means just getting your tooth pulled. These are things that can be resulted of. You can be in crippling pain for the rest of your life. You get dry mouth or dry root. That's just tooth work. You can go get elective surgery to get a mole removed, and you have to sign off because it's possible you're going to die. There are still people that die from vaccines. I had a horrible allergic reaction to the vaccines that I took before I went to China. When I went to China the first time, I got a vaccine. I got a vaccine dose, like it was a whole bunch of things that you have to get. And they didn't have the flu virus, the flu vaccine that I needed. They had one that was for the general public. I needed a special one that is for people who are allergic to yeast, because I'm allergic to yeast. And they're like, well, I have this. They were like, I have this one instead. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm supposed to get this other one. And they're like, well, we gave you this one instead. I'm like, okay. And what they did is they gave me a shot, even though I told them I was allergic. They gave the one that was from yeast, that was cultivated from yeast. I'm allergic to eggs, and I'm allergic to yeast. And because of that, my shoulder swelled and my tendon here tore. Not completely, but enough. It's something like a 75% tear or 90% tear. It's a big tear because of the inflammation and then me trying to exercise, and it just didn't go good. The solution, by the way, is that there's something here that they can actually, basically they tear it itself, like they completely cut it off, and then the pain will go away. People still die from vaccines. They do. They're either allergic, or there's an air bubble, or they get infected. Even with the cotton swab, even doing everything right, they don't have a strong immune system. They get an infection. They die. People get sepsis. My cousin, he lost his foot from an injection. He got an injection on his foot, and he couldn't handle the antibiotic, and he lost his leg. Another cousin of mine, same situation. He couldn't handle the gas to go under. He never woke up. He ended up in a coma and died. A really good friend of mine, when the last time that he went to the doctor, they put him under. He's a big guy, so they thought that with even the baby amount that he was going to be fine. Just the baby amount, he was in a coma for 3 weeks. So these things happen. This is not medical malpractice. This isn't bad medicine. This is good, perfectly good vaccinations, perfectly good, perfectly healthy, perfectly well done staffing, all doing the correct stuff. But people's bodies react differently to different stuff. So Kennedy, being a conspiracy theorist, could exploit that. Sure. But the way to answer him is not by saying vaccines are 100% effective and they're 100% safe. If you lie, then he can simply point out your lie, and suddenly it sounds like he's the one telling the truth. This is why I'm against that in Christianity, when people say that evolution isn't real, when people try to discount the effect of narrative, the way that the Bible is structured, when things were written. Whenever pastors or apologists say the fake information as if it's true because they're worried about people leaving the faith, I'm always against it every time. Because once the person finds out the truth, they will lose their faith. It's no longer a possibility. You need to stop saying that everything's 100% safe, everything's 100% effective, because it's not. But by admitting the truth, when someone like RFK start saying his wackadoodle shit, you can say, yeah, no, it's true. There are some deaths. There is a death rate involved with birth. Yes, there is a death rate involved with medical procedures. Yes, there's a chance of this. This doesn't necessarily mean that this law is bad or this procedure is bad. There is a survival rate and there is a mortality rate involved with this procedure. And then you can move on because you've acknowledged the truth.
Give Kennedy, but if given the authority, look for him to take over systems like the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, which monitors adverse reactions to vaccines. RFK also has antidepressants and fluoridated water in his sights as well. And I'm sure despite the dubious legality
I like fluoride in my water. I want people to not take that away. I like having strong teeth.
of these efforts, this will be bolstered by the judiciary because, as we saw with the battle over abortion drugs, some judges are eager to get involved in making safety determinations themselves instead of relying on decades of research. Now, despite the advice of every economist on the planet and anyone who knows how tariffs work, Trump is all in on.
I do want to watch the tariff thing from Daily Wire. The problem is I don't trust Daily Wire not to do a copyright claim, so that's why we're not watching it. But I would love to watch that as a response to this.
Tariffs. And this is one area where Trump actually might have the ability to implement tariffs without any further approval. The Trade Expansion Act of 1962, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, and the Trade Act of 1974 give the president authority to impose tariffs for national security reasons or in response to unfair trade practices. Trump used this discretion in 2018 to impose tariffs on steel and aluminum imports and on.
How many days does the War Powers Act give for the president? Well, he's talking. I'm going to check that
Range
out.
of Chinese goods. He cited national security reasons for slapping a 25% tariff on steel and a 10% tariff on aluminum. And will he do it again? Well, yeah, probably. Now, I would actually be surprised if Trump implemented a large tariff on all foreign-made goods, simply because tariffs are taxes on the goods imported from foreign countries, and the foreign countries won't be paying them. Those added costs are always passed on to the consumer. And we're already hearing from businesses who are preparing for the tariff era by buying extra products now to avoid paying tariffs next year. So when businesses and consumers actually figure out how tariffs work and complain about the astronomically high prices, you can probably expect some symbolic tariffs, but probably not the across-the-board tariffs and replacing of the entire American tax system that Trump has been arguing for. Now, I'm old enough to remember when Republicans wanted free trade, and honestly, I kind of want to.
Yeah, and I'm old enough to remember when Democrats fought against it. What's your point? Okay, so I'm looking at the War Powers Act. I'm trying to get how many days it gives it to, but basically it's a resolution designed to limit the presidential's ability to initiate or escalate military powers abroad. But it doesn't say how many days it gives them. I'll look up the next thing.
I want to see him go whole hog on tariffs because the inflationary effects would be so big and would happen so fast. It might destroy the economy, but the fire would burn really bright. Now, obviously, if you're going to destroy the federal government from the inside, you'd want a good lawyer. But if you want a great lawyer, my law firm, the Eagle Team, can help. If you've gotten in a car crash, suffered a data breach, especially...
Here's my question. Would you, come on, Mr. Legal Eagle, if you're really standing to your principles, if President Trump called you, would you defend him? Okay. Hey, Santiago. Okay, so the president can declare war for 48 hours. I said 30 days. But he has 30 days to withdraw. Okay, but it was 48 hours. So, okay. I gave him too many days.
2025. So I would expect Congress to pass a law extending and expanding those tax cuts. Now, despite Trump's statements that he's going to appoint Elon Musk as some sort of budget czar who's going to be out looking for unnecessary regulation and unnecessary government spending, I don't expect this Trump administration to make any sizable dent in the debt or the deficit because discretionary spending is a drop in the bucket compared to entitlements and defense spending, and I would be shocked if Trump or Musk reduced either, but there is some worry that certain tax measures would cause Social Security to...
I mean, Trump is dedicated to not going into wars, so he will lower defense spending.
Run out of cash much sooner. And I don't expect them to go after Medicare or Social Security that much to the extent that they can.
I do expect him to go after Medicare.
Because those are overwhelmingly popular programs. However, it's pretty likely that we'll see the end of Obamacare and the ACA. Now, at the moment, Trump doesn't really have anything to replace it with. He has concepts of a plan.
If we come up with...
But again, he has been in office before and he didn't do that last time. Why would he do that now?
something, we're going to do it, and we're going to...
Even if he tried, he didn't succeed, so...
Place it.
You still do not have a plan.
I have concepts of a plan.
But you can't expect them to just try to break it and blow it up. So it's entirely possible that they could just repeal it and deal with the aftermath later. Republicans have tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act 100 times, and the last time they tried it during Trump's first term, they lost by 1 vote. Senator McCain's memorable thumbs down moment. So now would probably be a good time to get medical coverage if you have a pre-existing condition or your job does not offer health insurance to you. Maybe the most moderate version of this is what incoming Vice President J.D. Vance said, which is letting insurance companies put people with pre-existing health conditions in different risk pools. That would mean that insurance companies would be able to charge higher premiums to those with chronic conditions or pre-existing conditions. So at the very least, under a Trump ACA plan, expect people with pre-existing conditions to pay a lot more for medical insurance. Expect absolute grift for days. Now, one of the most brain-melting aspects of the first Trump era was watching Trump openly use his office for personal gain.
Constant attempts to sell you stuff. Who does that? Selling you gold sneakers and a $100,000 watch and most recently a Trump Bible.
Now, there was a provision in the Constitution that was meant to prevent that. It was called the Emoluments Clause.
So some people get the Trump Bible thing wrong. The Trump Bible is just the King James Bible, or maybe it's the New King James Bible. There's nothing changed in it. I have seen Bibles that are specifically changed. Like there's if you go into West Texas, there's a Bible for oil field workers, and it's all about cultivating the land, and it says stuff that helps promote wanting to exploit the land and that kind of stuff. That's about it. Santiago says, I never understood the dislike of government healthcare by the American right when it was invented by Bismarck.
Clause. See Article 1, Section 9, Paragraph 8. But courts basically read that out of existence, though those cases were dismissed on standing in
we might not get to any of the other stuff I have planned today because we're only 11 minutes in and we're already an hour into this.
jurisdictional grounds, not on the merits.
Well, yeah.
So Trump used the Trump International Hotel in D.C. to take hundreds of payments from pardon seekers, job seekers, U.S. agencies like the Secret Service, foreign diplomats, and anyone else who wanted things from Trump. And firms on the exchange, but because it's a publicly listed company, expect all kinds of shenanigans with people buying up the stock and all kinds of shenanigans with people just engaging in all kinds of crazy contracts with yet more wealth. He's been hand in glove with Trump since the election. So for example, you can expect lots of roadblocks to cheap Chinese electric cars, which might undercut Tesla. And I need to apologize. I have in the past talked about how Musk tanked the value of Twitter. Buying Twitter might be the worst thing to ever happen to Elon Musk. But now it's clear that he used his influence, including through Twitter.
I mean, quote unquote 3D chess. He bought Twitter so he could do exactly what he did. He was thinking ahead.
To parlay that into a huge windfall. So
and now that the Republicans are going to lobby for free speech, he'll be even more popular. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a merger between Truth Social and Twitter or X. I would not be surprised if that happens at all, because Trump can't own a company while he's president. He could put it in a trust, but it makes more sense to sell his shares to Elon.
It doesn't really matter what the book value of Twitter is as a private company. It was obviously just a tool for other gains. And on top of that, if you take certain government jobs, you don't have to pay capital gains taxes. So Musk could save billions in taxes if he realizes any gains on the stock that he owns. Plus, you can probably consider the multiple investigations into Musk and his firms, like from the SEC, to be completely dead at this point. As with tariffs, I do expect mass deportations, but I expect it rather ineptly and probably incompletely. It would not surprise me to use the military and the National Guard to supplant ICE.
So just to be really clear, the National Guard and the U.S. Army are down here on the border right now. They've been here since Obama. They're basically permanently stationed here. I sold cars to people who are in the U.S. military down here helping secure the border. Now, the difference is how efficiently they're used. And I've talked to enough of them, especially selling cars to them. And now in my current business, I still talk to some people who do that, where under a Democrat, they'll be stationed here, but they won't have any authority to do anything. So you're literally just wasting money because they can't do anything. On the other hand, under a Republican, they'll be used to do stuff like they'll help with processing, they'll help with transportation and stuff like that. They're not being cruel. First off, if they're National Guard, they're state, and they're from here. So a lot of the people from the Valley that live here choose is the wrong word, but they request to be stationed here as part of this deployment, because then they get to go home to their mom and dad every day. They get to live with their wife or girlfriend, and they go to work, and then when they're done, they get to live a regular life. They don't have to go back to a base. So that's why they do it. And then I've seen people who are transferred in from other states. and they intermix with the culture pretty easily, and they have fun. So, yeah, they're there now. They've been there since Obama. Stop acting like it's not happening. We have a National Guard and a military post here. Anyway, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. You're fear-mongering. The military has been used for this multiple times in the last 16 years. And when they're here and they're active, it's actually better because they're actually being used. They get paid the same either way. They get the same hazard pay. They get the same pay. So you can either pay them to be here just in case something goes wrong, or you can have them do stuff like transportation and processing for paperwork. It just makes sense. If you're going to pay them anyway, have them do something useful.
The thing is, it takes tens of thousands of dollars per deportation. It would be ruinously expensive, not to mention all of the human misery it would cause. Now, Trump has already...
But it has to do with the amount of people coming in.
He pegged Thomas Homan to run the deportations. He was the architect of the family separation policy in the first administration. And he says the military will not be used, but that we'll need twice as many ICE agents.
Yeah, calling it the family separation policy is stupid. There's a lot of human trafficking that goes on. I have met adult people who are dancers, for lack of a better term, who they say that they got trafficked in and then they got free, but they didn't want to go back. So they start the process of being a migrant, and the job that they pick is dancing. But when they tell their story, it's a horrific story. Even if there's nothing violent or gross that happens to them, the way that they got here is not a pleasant story. So I think you're being super naive. And if you don't understand why it's necessary to have the military down here and why it's necessary to have, I mean, I don't give a shit about ICE agents. It's why it's necessary to have Border Patrol down here in the Rio Grande Valley. You are an idiot. We have been saying this for years down here. I'm talking about Democrats have been saying this. Republicans have been saying this. Anarchists have been saying this. We're living in an area where literal illegal immigrants from Honduras cross into our backyards. Do you understand? Like it's a real problem. It's not an imaginary Republican problem. There's gang violence just 4 miles from my house going south. So, like, what are you talking about? Most children migrants arrive with unfamiliar adults. Yeah. I have a friend actually who, even though he's super hardcore Democrat, like he super supports the Democrats, he came to America by himself. He eventually got legal, but it took a long time and it was a hard process. And he crossed illegally, but eventually became legal. So no, and friend might be the wrong word, but an acquaintance who I'm friendly with. So yeah, no, this guy, Legal Eagle, does not know what he's talking about at all. The Tendriagara gang. No, I have not heard about that. In the comments, describe. Be careful what you describe, because if you put too much detail, if you know what I mean, if you get too explicit, you'll get automatically banned. That's not me doing it. That's YouTube's algorithm. So be careful what you say. But yeah, put it in the chat so I can see the details. If you can put a link to an article.
Agents, so who knows? And if it's anything on the scale that they've been suggesting, expect internment camps of sorts. Stephen Miller says the program will include...
I hate that they call it that. The deportation centers, most of them are actually schools, like schools that we go to. So unless you're going to call the school that I went to some kind of terrible violation of human rights, it's just a school, dude. It's just a building. Yeah.
Denaturalization, which means probably the children of immigrants who are legal.
Now, the denaturalization stuff, if that's true, that's bad. But if that's part of the Project 2025 and not part of Trump's plan, then it's bullshit to bring this up. So you should be listing a source of where you're getting this from. Because denaturalization would be a huge fucking deal. That would be a problem. But what's your source? Who's actually promoting that? Who's actually saying that? Because if it's not Trump, it's not the Republican Party, then you're just fear-mongering. You're picking the worst examples of what's happening on the so-called right, and you're saying, oh, this is what they're going to do. It is a fear. It is not an actuality. And yes, I saw the interviews from Trump from 2 years ago where he said a lot of crazy shit. He still wasn't talking about denaturalization.
Legal citizens of the United States would also be deported with their
And
families.
he never talked about getting rid of birthright citizenship. So you're an asshole for bringing that up. You are creating fear among people.
And there are rumblings from certain judges who have been eyeing a spot on the Supreme Court about losing birthright citizenship, which is currently enshrined in the 14th Amendment, but don't be so certain that future Supreme Courts agree. And there are rumors that they will end temporary protected status, which again are legal immigrants, and use that to deport legal immigrants like the much maligned Haitians in Ohio.
Sometimes the people call me on my business phone, and when I say, hello, Keket Bongo, can I help you? You say, you have cats, you have dogs in your menu?
And there are rumors that they'll get rid of a whole bunch.
I'm going to be very clear. My wife's Chinese. I get those jokes all the time. I think they're funny. I think they're funny, to be honest with you. And I have a cat. I think those jokes are funny. My wife thinks those jokes are funny. Is it harassment? Yeah. Should people be doing it? No. They definitely should be calling in and doing that. But, you know, if you go, is it Venezuela or is it Argentina? They eat... it's not hamsters, it's the other one. Guinea pigs. They eat guinea pigs, and the way that they kill them is fucking gross, dude. Like, they're alive, and they just slice their heads right open. Like, they don't, there's not a mercy kill. It's graphic, it's brutal. So yeah, I mean, no, it's Peru. I think it's Peru that does the guinea pigs, I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, we all have crazy shit we eat. I'm Hispanic. I eat menudo and barbacoa, man. Oh yeah. Well, when I was in China, I was eating street food, and my wife made a cat and dog joke. She was like, so she doesn't call me honey. I don't know what she calls me. But she was talking to me, and she, whatever the thing is she says when she starts talking to me, and she goes, have you seen any cows around? And I'm like, no. And she's like, I wonder what you're eating. I was like, wow, honey. Wow. Thanks. So yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's a common joke. It's not the worst joke in the world.
Bunch of legal immigration programs like temporary protected status, again, legal immigrants, and use that to deport legal immigrants like the much maligned Haitians in Ohio. The one thing we know for certain is it's not going to include only criminal immigrants. A lot of legal immigrants are going to be caught up in this pogrom. But once we know more about what's actually going on.
And calling it a pogrom is really problematic. You're equating that with the Jewish Holocaust and with the Jewish situation in different countries. Hi, I know. I love you too. I know. Hi. That's really problematic because I'm a Mexican, and my friends who are in the military, my friends who are in the Army, my friends who are in the Marine Corps, my friends who are part of the Border Patrol, my friends who are police officers here in where I live in McAllen. That's where I live, by the way. They're all Mexican. You fuck. No, we're not being racist against our own kind. You prick.
And then we'll talk about the legality of it. But either way, it's going to be extremely expensive and full of human misery.
Tonight in an Ingram Angle exclusive, we have word that yet another caravan is forming. One, of course, that our next guest says could be the biggest yet.
I do expect the politicization of the Department of Justice and probably the IRS against Trump's critics. As Eli Honig points out, when Bill Barr was the Attorney General, the Department of Justice was weaponized defensively. The things that were negative against Trump were quashed, like the investigation into the potential Egyptian bribe or the Mueller report. But largely the DOJ wasn't used offensively to create sham investigations. But now even Bill Barr is going to be gone, so expect it to be...
But you just admitted that last time around it didn't actually happen, even though that was your fear. Now you're just regurgitating the same fear under a new circumstance. That doesn't mean your fear can't be realized, but it does mean you are fear-mongering because you have no proof that it will happen. You just have a gut feeling. That means your emotions, not your reason, is what you're expressing.
Be used offensively, and that's a really scary thought. Cleta Mitchell says they'll fire anyone in the voting section and civil rights division of the DOJ because they aren't MAGA, but a lot of this will depend on who's nominated to be the attorney general and run the department, and we just don't know yet. That takes us to abortion, and there's a lot to cover here. The biggest question...
I'm not sure if the person that he just mentioned is someone who's even a reliable source, so...
is whether Congress would pass a total abortion ban. State-level initiatives protecting abortion have been successful, so it's possible that Republicans will seek to avoid an outright ban. But that doesn't mean that the Supreme Court will. Right now, conservatives don't quite have enough justices to be able to invoke fetal personhood, we think. But Trump will almost surely get at least one justice and probably more. And the leading candidates for the court favor fetal personhood, which, if implemented, would mean no state would be allowed to have abortion at all, despite what the state constitutions say. But even short of that, you can probably expect mifepristone to not be able to be sold state to state. So far, the FDA has upheld the safety and efficacy of mifepristone. However, individual states retain authority to regulate medical practices within their jurisdiction. And as a result, some states have enacted bans that restrict or ban the use of the drug, despite its federal approval. And banning medical abortions remains a high priority for conservatives. That's one reason why it's likely we'll see the revival of the Comstock Act. The Comstock Act is a federal law enacted in 1873 that prohibits the mailing of, quote, obscene, lewd, or lascivious materials. And the act was originally aimed at restricting the distribution of pornography, contraceptive devices, and information about abortion through the mail. Historically, it had been rendered a nullity by the Supreme Court, but the law is still on the books. So in the first instance, expect it to be used to ban medical abortions, but then expect it to be taken a step further and used to ban anything related to abortions. But let's turn to the judiciary, because so much of what Trump plans to do relies on a pliant judicial system.
I'm going to have to change the title of this video after it gets done, because we haven't done anything else but this guy.
If you thought the courts couldn't get any worse than they are, I have some really bad news, because Trump nominated very inexperienced lawyers to federal courts during his first term, sometimes even when the ABA said that they were completely unqualified. And you can expect way more of this during his second term. And expect a ton of them to be 40 years old or younger, because federal judges get life tenure, and if you're appointed young, then you can do a lot of damage for decades. The first time around...
Yeah, but you were just saying how you don't want those laws to change. But right now, if those laws changed and they put term limits or age limits on the justices, you wouldn't have this problem.
Trump nominated almost as many judges in his first term as Obama did in his 2 terms, so expect that to be supercharged. And since Republicans took back the Senate, they will absolutely rubber stamp all the federal judges that he nominates. So expect lots of completely unqualified judges. The only qualification is fealty to Trump and the Federalist Society.
That's a lot of assumption.
Now, part of the problem here is that conservatives have been complaining about so-called judicial activism for decades. But what we're already seeing from some Trump judges and some circuit courts of appeals that are dominated by Trump judges is so far beyond judicial activism. It goes into...
Again, this is just your own personal bias. But the problem is that you're forgetting the order of events. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So if you guys do it first, and then this side does it, and then the other side does it second, and then you blame the other side for doing what you did first, you haven't solved the problem. All you're doing is arguing with each other. It's really stupid to do that.
Pure partisanship and complete hackery. And I think it's important to distinguish between conservative judges and Trumpist judges. These Trumpist judges seem to have loyalty to the man rather than crudely articulated principles. They seem to start with an outcome and then work backwards, and sometimes they don't even work backwards. And that's also led to some real shenanigans in terms of judge shopping. For example, if you file in a district that only has one federal judge, you will get that one federal judge in some of these circuits. That's why you're hearing so much from these crazy judges like Reed O'Connor, Matthew Kacsmaryk. So this is going to be...
Yeah, but even companies like Google or Alphabet and companies like... Disney and other ones like that exploit this. So maybe it's a problem of exploitation, and we should find a way to get around that and like make a law preventing that from happening. That might be a good thing instead of complaining about it and fear-mongering about it.
A huge problem going forward with people cherry picking the judge they want in the district that they want. Then that appeal goes up to the Circuit Court of Appeals that they want, and then that goes up to a very favorable Supreme Court. Oh, and now the Republicans control the federal government, you won't hear anything more about states' rights. But speaking of the Supreme Court...
That's not true. States' rights are still going to be a big deal because most conservative Republicans believe in states' rights, and they want a... I think a lot of them, especially the more extremist ones, they don't want a strong federal government. They want a strong state government with a weaker federal government. So that's what they want. So they're still going to be arguing for states' rights because that's what they're trying to get done.
Court, public approval of the Supreme Court is at an all-time low for...
Maybe you should listen to the opposition before you decide to say what the opposition is thinking. Maybe I should listen to what they say and then report what they're saying instead of what you suspect they're saying without actually listening to them. Because now you're just listening to your fears and your own thoughts and other people who agree with you in your fears and your own thoughts and not what the actual opposition is saying, which is not what you're saying they're saying.
Very good reason.
That might be called something like a straw man?
Now, the Republicans already control the Supreme Court 6-3, but if you think it can't get any worse, you're probably wrong. What's likely to happen is that Alito and Thomas will retire. Not to mention replacing any of the liberal justices with someone as radical as Thomas if a seat comes up. Oops, all Thomases. This is the kind of court that would be eager to establish fetal personhood, rooted, of course, in the Constitution, if the Republicans don't have the stones to pass a law. Now, recently, a lot of the Supreme Court's jurisprudence has been limiting what the federal government could do.
Or maybe because the Republican Party is changing, they might not get that law passed anyway, because a lot of the old Democrats that you've pushed out, by old, I mean the original style that are classic Democrats that you pushed out and classic liberals that you pushed out, are now finding a home in the Republican Party, which is changing the center of the Republican Party and changing the political biases of the Republican Party. So you might be wrong.
Finding that the Commerce Clause of the Constitution is more circumspect than what it has been historically over the last 100 years or so. I expect that jurisprudence to probably go away, except insofar as the federal government does anything progressive. For the law nerds, this is a throwback to the Lochner era, except this is a one-way street version of the Lochner era. I expect anything that the Republicans want to do will be firmly rooted in the traditions of the Constitution, but anything progressive will be interpreted as not relating to interstate commerce. And that takes us to religion.
For those who are just jumping into the room, I noticed some people have been jumping in and out. I got to change the title of the room because we have not done anything on Dan, which is my plan today was to watch a bunch of Dan videos, and instead I got sidetracked by 2 separate videos. So I got to change the title. Sorry about that.
Religion. You can probably expect the court to continue to carve out huge religious exemptions for most things related to the Constitution or the federal government. And you can also expect the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment to probably be basically stricken. That's been eroding over time, but you can expect further entwining of government in religion.
Does anybody know how to change the title of a live stream?
In the near future. And then let's talk about LGBT rights. Trump's proposals are to restrict as many rights as he possibly can. He's pledged to eliminate federal policies to prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity.
Wait. That's false. That's false. Hold on. Give me a second to try to fix the title, and then we'll get back into this because that's a false statement all around. Oy. Okay. Let me see. How do I? Yeah. How can I change the video title? No, I don't think they did. I don't. When it's on their side, they don't complain. So, yeah, I know. How do I change the title of? How do I change the title? There has to be a way to change the title. No, I can't do it. Additional settings? Premium controls? No. Okay, I'm stuck with this title. There has to be a way to fix it. I just don't know how.
Government's probably going to be funding religion in the near future. And then let's talk about LGBT rights. Trump's proposals are to restrict as many rights as he possibly can. He's pledged to...
Okay, no. His proposal is not to restrict as many rights as he possibly can. First off, he has J.D. Vance doing LGBTQ outreach. J.D. Vance seems to have either some queer or bisexual past. He's Catholic, and Catholics, while they are very man-woman marriage and that kind of thing, they're also very open to bringing people in from the LGBTQ community. So understand that this is not what this guy is saying it is. Also, Trump is very vocal in the past about his support for gay people and lesbians, and I'm not sure about trans rights, although I have seen him hold up a trans flag before. So I think it was like trans people or something like that. So no, he supports LGBTQ rights. He supports LGBTQ people. He doesn't see skin color. He doesn't see sexuality. He sees only one thing: money. So if your color is green, your sexuality is green, he's going to support you. That's what he cares about. He cares about money. He cares about profit. He's a salesman. He's not even a businessman. People call him a businessman. He's not a businessman. He's a salesman. He's a con man and a businessman. Con man meaning confidence man. So he's a confidence man. He's a salesman. He's an actor. He's playing a character called Trump. Like, this is who is president right now. So he does not see skin color or sexuality. He sees the color green.
Eliminate federal policies to prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity.
It depends on how you define that.
He plans to revoke Title IX protections that allow transgender students to
Well, no, he's not revoking Title IX protections. He wants to revert back to previous Title IX wording.
use facilities. Trump intends to prohibit federal funding for hospitals and healthcare providers that offer gender-affirming care. And Trump wants...
That is true. That last one is true. He is correct about the third one. The third one is a real thing.
to reinstate bans on transgender individuals serving openly in the military. And
I haven't heard that. I know I know if you go back in that video from 2 years ago, but his current platform, I haven't heard him state that. That doesn't mean that he doesn't want that secretly, but I haven't seen anything on that. He might have restrictions on how they integrate people who identify as trans in the military. That might be true. I haven't seen that. I'm just guessing. But that's more based on him playing to his base and playing to his party than it is on Trump's personal beliefs. To quote one person, he doesn't even think Trump has personal beliefs. So there you go.
And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if he wanted to roll back protections from gay people serving in the military as well.
That's going too far. He does not. That's going too far. See, this is the kind of bullshit that gets you in trouble and gets Democrats in trouble. On the trans issues, is Trump more conservative than the majority of outspoken Democrats and outspoken activists? Yes. But on gay issues, is Trump more conservative? No, he's more liberal. He's more progressive. He outright states he loves his gay supporters. There's no Republican, no Christian Republican out there saying that. So again, you're just lying and you're fear-mongering. That doesn't mean that the conservative Christian Republicans that are out there aren't going to try to push laws through that might have anti-gay bias. That is true. That could happen. Yes, the evangelical Christian right, that is a major portion of the Republican Party, could push for those kind of laws. But that isn't coming from Trump. And Trump isn't the one that won those people those offices. The Democrats lost those offices by not paying attention to what the people wanted. You're supposed to be representing the people, not activists. Majority wins in this country. Majority wins. So if you want to win an election, you have to appeal to the majority opinion.
And expect the Supreme Court to roll back all jurisprudence related to the right to privacy. It started with overruling...
No. Right to privacy is not going away. Conservatives and Republicans love right to privacy. So that's not going away.
Roe, but I fully expect Obergefell to be next on the chopping block. That means no more same-sex marriages. But this time around,
Again, the Republicans in the Senate and the House might push for those laws. Trump might veto them, and then they might override the veto. But that's not Trump doing that, and it isn't Trump who won or lost those elections. That's your previous candidates lost those elections themselves. They lost their seats by being shitty politicians and by being terrible congressmen and terrible Senate seat holders.
expect they would find something in the Constitution that would forbid states from engaging in it as well. Now, the analogy that I think is right on the money is from poli-sci professor and Niskanen Center fellow Jacob Levy, and it relates to 1876. I really hope he's wrong about this, but he writes, I keep coming back to 1876 as the analogy. Not the end of competitive elections or the establishment of a nationwide one-party state, but a catastrophic blow to constitutional government from which it took 90 years to sort of recover. It's not an election to end all elections, but it's also not an election we just recover from by the other side winning power back eventually. Up until now, it's been 8 years of trying to protect some idea of the underlying democratic constitutional order from Trump. After this, I think the actual underlying order has changed. To take one example, the peaceful contestation of elections and peaceful transfer of power is not a default anymore. For Trump to face no legal consequences for January 6th and to subsequently return to power and presumably to subsequently pardon a lot of people breaks that equilibrium. In 2020, a lot of people, the Brad Raffenspergers of the world, but also thousands of poll workers and local elections board and the like, believe themselves and could rely on others believing in the sanctity of those rules and norms. I don't see how that's possible for the foreseeable future. The attack on...
All right, we're good. We're good. Let's go. We got 30 minutes. Let's do a little bit of what the show was supposed to be, huh? Let's go check out Dan. Dan the man. Dan McCullen. Most scholars. Yeah.
Of certain evolutionarily installed my previous video number Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion. Let's take a look at the video. How could he let that happen? I'm talking about King David. God chose a filthy-minded, adulterous, wealthy man with evil in his heart to rule his nation. How could he let that happen? I'm talking about King David, the author of Psalms. What?
Well, just to be clear, you could be talking about anyone who ruled over. Also, saying David wrote Psalms is a little probably not true. But let's not worry about that. Nebuchadnezzar. Darius. I don't know who the Egyptian ruler of Israel was when Egypt ruled over that area, but Alexander the Great. So, yeah, this is not the own that this person thinks it is. But where Dan McClellan is going to go is too far, and it's part of the reason why Democrats are losing political power in the West currently, not just in America, but around the world. Democrats and progressive and liberal parties are losing ground to conservative and traditional patriarchal politicians. They just are.
But did you think I was talking about somebody else? And this brand of rhetoric and this exact script has been used in a bunch of social media posts. And the point is obviously to excuse putting a serial sexual predator.
No, because some of the people are using this as a way to insult the Bible. So you're wrong there. You're making an assumption that everyone's doing it the same way. And yes, there are some evangelicals that think that Trump is a new Messiah, which I think is, or a new prophet. I think that's incredibly foolish, incredibly wrong, and incredibly dumb. But idiotic opinions aside, and blasphemous as well, they see things like, they already, and if you go back to the first time Trump got elected, there were people on the religious far right that believed Trump was the second coming, that he was sent by God. But you add into stuff like him dodging the bullet, articles about him having protection against witchcraft, which assumes magic is real, but let's not get into that. Magic's not real. All of this feeds into the idea that Trump is somehow divinely protected and divinely meant to be president. You add into that the biblical concept, which he doesn't believe in biblical thinking, but there is such a thing as biblical thinking. There's Shakespearean thinking. You can read all of Shakespeare's writings and have Shakespearean thinking. You can read all the Bible and have biblical thoughts that come out through the pairing up of paradoxes that comes out of that. which he has trouble even understanding. But let's not worry about that. Through biblical thinking, you do have the idea that God chooses who's in charge. So anyone who's in charge, whether it's Biden or whether it's Obama or whether it's Trump or whether it's Bush, is chosen by God. Even Putin is chosen by God to rule, so are allowed to rule.
In the White House on the grounds that God always chooses profoundly sinful men to rule their nation.
Santiago said, I think that's the way how some scholars like Bowen or Dan act so indignified when talking about atrocities in the Bible is kind of lame and pretentious. I agree, Santiago. I don't judge them for their conception, because if you view all the books as not having influence on the other books, even when you can clearly see the connections, if they're all just in the time period that they were written for the audience that they were originally intended to, by the author that was originally writing them, by his conceptions and understanding, then yeah, you limit your scope of understanding. But when you put them all together and you press them all together and you force these ideas to fight with each other, you come up with new thoughts. And the writing that comes after the previous book is clearly influenced by the book before it. I don't mean in the order that we have the Bible. I mean as in chronologically, what's going on in the later books of the prophets has ties back to Genesis and ties back to Deuteronomy and Leviticus and Judges. So you have these books that are drawing back, and you have the New Testament, which is doing a lot of stuff, drawing back to a lot of stuff in the Old Testament. And then you have the book of Revelation, which is tying everything together. So yeah, these books are clearly influencing the books that come after it, and the books that come after it are clearly drawing from the books that came before it and coming up with new revelation through that and new ways of interpretation. I mean, the New Testament is all about reinterpreting the Bible, recontextualizing it through typological understanding, which is amazing and cool and revolutionary. And if you can't admit that and accept that that interpretation is true, well, then you can't have the conversation that Dan needs to have to be able to understand what's going on here. It isn't that Dan isn't smart. It isn't that he isn't more well-read than me. It isn't that he doesn't understand the original languages better than I do. That's all true. That's fine. But the fact that he can't comprehend, or comprehend is the wrong word, he can definitely comprehend. The fact that he can't accept that what comes out of these paradoxes fighting with each other is just as true and just as factual as what happens is when you read the book in its original context, separated out, isolated from the other texts. The fact that he can't accept that is the problem, because he's never going to be able to talk to Christians. He's never going to be able to talk to Christians if he can't understand that, if he can't get over his prejudice against univocal cavalry, inspiration. He has to get over that. He has to understand this is the way that we interpret the Bible. The Bible itself interprets itself this way. So you got to get over it. Yeah. Did the person who was writing Leviticus understand what was coming in Revelation? No. They had no idea. But if you believe in inspiration and you believe that all these books are talking to each other and they're talking through each other, then yes, the book of Revelation reinterprets and recontextualizes that book in concert with all the other books to come up with new meaning. That is what's happening. And dogma then rises out of that as more people, we call them the church fathers, write, and there's new contradictions and new paradoxes and new ways of understanding that come in. Now, he can call it dogma and get upset about it, but it's still what happened. That still is the development that happened. It's like being upset that, we can't come from monkeys because we don't have a tail anymore. We used to have a tail. It's very clear we used to have a tail. We evolved from apes. It's right there. Like our tailbone's right there. It doesn't matter if we don't have it anymore. We can recontextualize our history based on our present. I remember a talk. This is Santiago. I remember a talk they had with Jennifer Bird, and she acted so offended that the Bible talks smack about Jews. And I was like, "You're a Bible scholar. Deal with it." I agree with it. Just deal with it. It's fine. You don't have to like it. You don't even have to agree with it. But it's there. Accept it. Accept that the Bible does this. Anyway, continuing.
And there are 4 things to say about this rhetoric. And the first is that it is entirely false. That is absolutely not what the Bible says. The Bible represents all of those things coming well after God had chosen David. And it
Okay. First off, do you believe David really existed? Secondly, if he existed, do you believe this is written before or after David existed? A, you probably don't believe David existed. B, you believe that even if he did exist, that this is written after the fact. So the writer could knowingly put all that stuff in there, knowing who David was, and still present it in the narrative the way that he did. It's literature.
represents God choosing David precisely because David was a man after God's own heart.
Santiago says, I think they don't understand dogma to begin with. Dogma doesn't come out of nothing. There's a reason these things became dogmatic. You're completely correct, Santiago.
And when God is sending Samuel to anoint David, God says, you look on the outward appearance, God looks on the heart. So David...
it's like, with orthodoxy, they argue that orthodoxy is an orthodoxy because there's other views and other opinions. It's like, yes, no one's saying that there wasn't. We're saying that the orthodox view is the view that won, and because we believe in divine providence, we believe that's the correct view because God guided it. That's what we're saying. Orthodoxy was there from the beginning, and it's the view that won out. Does it mean there wasn't other views? Yeah, there was other views. Those other views didn't win out. They didn't survive, therefore they were wrong. That's what we're saying. Does that mean we're right? No. Does it mean we believe we're right? Yes. We 100% with our soul and our mind believe we are correct in our understanding. Otherwise we wouldn't be Christians, or Catholics, or Protestants, or Lutherans, or Baptists. If we didn't believe we were correct in our understanding, we wouldn't hold to that belief. But because we believe we're correct, and because we believe that interpretation is correct, we submit to it. This is not hard to understand, Dan.
Was chosen precisely because he was pure of heart. It was not until later in his kingship that he became the filthy-minded, adulterous, wealthy man with evil in his heart, and he's condemned by God.
Also, there's Saul. Also, there's other bad kings. If you go to Judges, or not bad kings, but bad councils, I guess. Literally, the Bible promises that you will have bad kings after you have one good one. So, yeah. Yeah, there's literally, there's only one correct, all of us are arguing there's only one correct way, and it's a narrow truth path. Of course, that means that all the other ways, the myriad of other ways, the infinite number of other ways to understand is wrong. That is what we're saying.
For it. When Nathan comes to David and gives him the thou art the man's speech, Nathan represents God saying, why would you do this after everything I've done for you? And then God says, the sword will never leave your house. I'm going to raise up trouble from within your...
I really don't understand why whenever they're trying to defend a point that other Christians disagree with, they go straight to literalism. That still bothers me. If you don't believe the Bible is literal, and you don't even believe that it's true, you don't even believe that these are real events. I believe they're real events because I'm a Catholic and a Christian. I understand there's no historical proof for them. I understand that the actual evidence is against it. But why are you, a biblical scholar, when you're arguing with a literalist, when you're arguing with an evangelical, why are you sounding like an evangelical? It just seems like a bad plan.
Your own family.
A bad
God
approach.
takes the life of David's son in order to punish him for these things. So this is flatly false, and these people don't know their Bible to save their lives. The second problem with this rhetoric is that it entirely misunderstands the literary nature of the story of David. This
is why I wanted to watch it, because I'm more concerned with the literary aspect of it than I am with the historical nature of it, because as I've said a million times, even if what's being told is true, like 100% true, that doesn't mean it's 100% historically accurate. It doesn't mean it's 100% correct. It doesn't mean David was named David. I do believe David was named David, by the way. I do believe there was a David. But the Davidic kingdom, I believe it was much smaller than what is described in the Bible. It has to be. For it to exist, it has to be much smaller. But the people who were writing about it later made it sound much bigger than what it was. And they added context that wasn't there. Because that's how writing works. That's how historical writing works. And if you're going to write propaganda and you're going to write a history of your own people to the king, just like Livy did, just like Herodotus did, you're going to talk about your kingdom being bigger and better than what it actually was. Because from the Jewish people's perspective, they were the center of the world and they were fighting major superpowers and they won. And how do they know they won? Because they survived and they're still here to this day. From the other kingdom's perspective, they were a very tiny, small tribe that didn't matter. It's just two different perspectives. And the side that's preserved is the side that talks about the religion that we all care about.
Composed well after David was dead and gone in order to represent David a specific way. It is literary. It is not historical.
Twist the screw just a little bit. Just can we make a little slight adjustment then? It is literary, but it is the history to the best of their understanding that they're reporting that they believed was true based on what they knew. That's all I said. That's all I said. No, I missed my spot.
Your group needs it to say. It's the negotiability of the Bible. Remember, when Republicans represented is also literary and not historical. Third thing to say about this rhetoric is that some of us can remember when Republicans appealed to the Bible to condemn the presence of an adulterous man in the White House. So
yes, and you all call us stupid for doing so. I want to be very clear here. I'm not saying that it's right if Trump does it. I'm not saying that it's right if Clinton does it. But you called Christians stupid for caring about adultery. Now that they're not caring about adultery, you're calling them hypocrites, even though it's not the same people, even though it's 30 years later or 20 years later. It's a different group, and they learned the lesson from the past, and they're like, okay, so you guys don't care about it. I guess we're not going to care about it. You got to stop doing this whataboutism. You got to stop doing this chicken and the egg shit. You just got to stop. I don't mean you, Dan. I mean all people on the opposition to Christianity and conservatism. You have to stop with the chicken and the egg stuff. You have to stop with the whataboutism. Just, if you're going to say it's wrong, admit it's wrong, and it's always wrong. If you're going to say that it's not wrong, then don't point the finger at us when we're doing what you did. It's very simple. Either it's always wrong or it's not wrong. And if Christians have fallen so far from their original beliefs that adultery is no longer a problem for them, you got no one to blame but yourselves, because you're the ones who degraded Christian thinking. And you're the ones who insulted Christians by calling them illogical and inhumane for thinking that way. So, which one is it? Is Christian thinking correct and these things are objectively wrong? Or is Christian thinking incorrect and therefore these things are not objectively wrong? And since it's all relative, it's fine if the outcome is utilitarianly positive. I know where I fall or where I stand, but that's because I'm a Catholic and a Christian.
So this just demonstrates the negotiability of the Bible. It is whatever you need it to be.
No, it's whatever you force it to be. And that's the problem. You're trying to force an understanding that is not the understanding of Christians. You're forcing your understanding of the Bible onto Christians who don't have your understanding. And you're forcing your understanding of their motives into their mouths when it's not true. Now, I'm 99% sure, no joke, me and you could go out for beers, we could talk comic books, we could have a happy adventure together, we could hang out at a gay bar together, we could hang out at a trans bar together, and we could have a great time. I'm 100% sure. And we can talk religion in any of these places, and you'll probably think I'm an idiot no matter what I say, and I'll probably correct you regardless and argue with you because I have an understanding of the Bible. I have read the Bible many, many times. I have studied the Bible, yes, all through translation, but I hold to what I know. And yet, because I'm a Republican, because I'm Catholic, because I'm Christian, and because I believe the Bible is true, you probably would not hang out with me. I have gay friends, trans friends, black friends, white friends, Republicans, Democrats, progressives, anarchists. I have friends who are drug addicts. And I support all my friends. And I don't back down. I argue with Trent Horn, and I argue with you. It doesn't matter. It does not matter to most people who have your point of view. I'm the enemy. I'm going to say that again. To most people who hold your point of view, I'm the enemy. And to most people who hold my point of view, I'm the devil. I'm Satan. Because I'm friends with the tax collector and the prostitute. Because I eat with the tax collector and the prostitute and the thief. Because I do outreach to the people who need it most. I'm the bad guy. Because I believe the Bible is a book of literature written by man, inspired by God, but wholly written by man and wholly inspired by God. Totally man, totally God, just like Jesus. And that the Bible has anachronisms and has dates that we can actually check out and has facts that we can check out and we can verify and not verify. Because of that, people who are literalists and Protestants think I'm literally Satan or the devil. I've had someone in my house, when I explained how chronology works, call me Satan to my face. This was a friend. First they called me God, then they called me Satan. In the same breath. Now, I have never abandoned a single friend. Whether they were addicted to cocaine, whether they were struggling through rehab, whether they were trans, whether they were bi, whether they were poly. And I am friends with activists in those communities who I love and I would gladly die for to help them. And I have featured some of them on this show. And there are many more I have reached out to and asked to be on this show, and they don't want to do it because they don't want to be on a Christian show. Oh, they'll come to my house. They'll eat my barbecue. They'll sleep on my bed. They'll come out with me and my wife to different events, but they won't come on this channel. Why? Because I support guns? They have guns. There's not one gay person I know in the Rio Grande Valley that doesn't own a gun. Is it because I go to church? Most of my gay friends go to church. They don't all go to Catholic churches, although 2 of them do. A lot of them go to progressive churches. Some of them go to Lutheran churches, but they're still gay, bisexual, or pansexual, and they still go to a religion. They still go to church. Okay, so the division that you are creating causes problems in my life, in my real life. Your theoretical division that you're creating causes problems in my real life. So, maybe tone down the rhetoric, lower the fact that you hate Trump, and realize that the people who are voting for him are upset at a system that has ignored them in favor of groups that they don't think about. Is that fair? No. Is it right? Maybe not, but it's reality. And you claim to love reality and facts.
Says whatever your group needs it to say. And for
Santiago says, have you seen how Dan and Bowen try to gaslight Falk and IP? Yeah, I have. I agree with most of not Dan, but Dr. Kip's estimation on that situation. Like 99% I agree with Kip. 99 is too much. 90% I agree with Kip. And maybe about 80% I agree with Dan, and 85% I agree with Bowen on the Falk and IP inspired philosophy stuff. I do. I used to have much more respect for IP until I started hearing how he gets to his reasoning. It's not just that he uses outdated sources. I use ancient sources. It's not that he just uses translations. I just use translations. His reasoning skills, he seems to override the evidence in favor of where he wants it to be. And this doesn't just happen with atheism or Catholicism. It also happens with the way that he understands his formatting of the Bible. So he'll defend positions that other theologians don't defend to maintain his, let's call it his dogma, since we're watching Dan. That's my problem with IP. Now, me and IP agree on almost all the religious stuff. So while on the critical level and on the scholarly level and on the dates and information, I agree 95% with Dan, Kip, and Dr. Bowen. And also their guests. Like most of their guests are great. And there's one lady who she has a great understanding. I don't remember her name right now. It's not Vashante. Vashante is awesome, but I'm talking about the guests who actually like talk and contribute to the intellectual side. I agree with all their science. Like all their science is the wrong word. I agree with all their data, put it that way. But I don't agree with all their conclusions. Me and IP are super close on Catholicism, on Christianity, on theology, on Trinitarianism. Like, we're there. But the way that he gets there is not how I get there. I don't deny the data on the ground or the facts on the ground. And I read a lot of this stuff. Almost every single book that Dan has recommended, I've either bought, read, listened to, or put on my TBR. And yeah, I mean, I want to be very clear. While I am very upset with what he's saying, I love Dan. And I really do mean that. I really would have a beer with him. I really would go to a bar with him, any bar. It doesn't matter which. But, you know, there is a problem. He does suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. He does have a really bad problem with evangelicals. I think evangelicals are idiots myself, but that I don't have a problem with them. They think I'm wrong. They call me Satan. I'll still go have a meal with them. If they invite me out to eat and have coffee, I will go talk to them right now. If I can get them in the Catholic Church, I will. If I can get them to read a history book to understand chronology, I will. If I can get them to read Plato, I will. But if I can't, I'm not going to hate them. And I do think that is a real problem with some of Dan's approach. But I can get how Dan got here, because I don't think he started off this staunch or this bias against the things that he's talking about. I think being a public scholar and going to Twitter and going to going to Twitter and going to YouTube and hearing idiotic arguments over and over again, and being called Satan, being called, you know, who knows what they're called, and the threats that he probably gets, all that has to influence him. And I feel bad for that. I feel sorry for him that he has to go through that. All of them, that they have to go through that. And I do my best to defend them when I'm in other people's chat rooms and other people's comments. But every time that I defend them, understand I'm losing credibility in the Christian community. Every time I defend Dan, every time I defend Dr. Kip, and not that I defend Dr. Kip that often, but I'm just for examples. Every time that I defend Bart Ehrman, who I defend a lot, I lose credibility in Catholic and Christian circles. I do. But I'd rather defend the truth than defend the lie.
one generation, it said you cannot have an adulterous man in the White House. And now we have a new generation who decides, no, we want it to say you can have an adulterous man in the White House.
But that's not the Bible, and that's not what they're saying. They were swayed by the culture's opinion changing. That isn't the Bible changing. That's the people's understanding changing.
House. So it just demonstrates that all of this is negotiable. And the fourth thing here is that this is very clearly an attempt to protect self-esteem and self-image. All of this is governed by intuitive identity politics. We want what we think is best for our team and for ourselves.
Nah. I reject that. I reject that completely. I quit my job to take care of my alien father. I'm sacrificing my marriage, my relationship with my wife, to take care of my father. There is no financial gain. There's no inheritance coming. There's no great money in the back end. There's no property that isn't already mine in name. There's nothing. There's just sacrifice. And regardless of who my father was to me when I was a child or a teenager, I'm going to make the sacrifice because he's my father. Because I believe in God and because I believe in the precepts that the Bible teaches me. Sometimes people do the right thing simply because it's just the right thing to do. Even if it costs them a lot, like an arm or a leg or their ability to walk. Sometimes it's not about self-preservation. Sometimes it's just about doing the right thing. Even if it means going against your group.
And we're going to rationalize it away if we cannot think critically. And that means we're going to appeal to whatever makes us feel better and whatever makes us feel like
Or you can accept suffering and realize that life is suffering and realize that the right thing is right regardless of how you feel. And sometimes it's painful and hard. Sometimes telling the truth is hard. Sometimes standing up for the right thing is difficult. Sometimes you're a 12-year-old boy with a gay best friend and a other best friend who happens to be black in a all Hispanic school, and they start saying the N-word and start throwing rocks at you and spitting on you. And on this day, you're like, you know what? I'm not putting up with it today. And you beat the shit out of the quarterback. And for that, you get kicked out of school or put in on-school suspension. Maybe you're that kid. Maybe you're that person. When you're tired of people saying the N-word and the F-word to your friends. And even though you're not either of those things, you decide you want to stand up for them. And you take the beating and you take the suspension. Because they're your friends. And it matters. And it's right. But hey, what do I know? I'm just talking about my own life.
we're not bad people. So this is just an attempt to excuse putting a rapist and a fraud and a just laughably stupid adult human into the White House by falsely appealing to the notion that the Bible says so. Y'all need to learn to read your Bibles better. You need
I could say the same thing to you, Dan.
to learn to love your neighbor better, and you need to learn to think critically and Google competently so you won't be duped anymore by bad faith actors into hurting other people.
Like I said, me and you should probably have a beer someday. Compare notes. Because I think you're wrong. But not on, and not for the reasons that you probably think I think you're wrong. I believe in forgiveness. And I believe that politically, people right now are hurting. And that there's no way. Yeah, it is a troll. That's where I was going, but you kind of jumped ahead of me. But I'm going to finish my speech as if you hadn't said it. The problem is that people are hurting. And like I talked about here on the border earlier in this video, I have friends who have had real problems, real tragedies, real dangers happen because of illegal immigration. I'm talking about Hispanic people, Mexican people on land that used to be part of Mexico having a problem with people crossing over from Mexico who happen to speak the same language as us, happen to have the same skin color as us, much darker than me. I'm kind of pale, but my cousins are not. And they are saying enough. Enough with the drugs, enough with the sex crimes, enough with all the stuff that's happening because of this illegal immigration that's coming through our neighborhoods and affecting our kids and affecting our friends. And while, yes, it might not make sense to you that this particular person is the better option, there is no political precedence for people voting in the political party who put people into this situation. Whether you want to talk about the French Revolution, whether you want to talk about any of the government overturning or any of the elections over the last 20 years, the amount of debt that we are in, the amount of inflation we are in, no matter who is the candidate opposing that, that candidate will win because people can't afford food. I went from a job where I was earning up to $78,000 a year, up to. I'm now working a job where I'm going to earn like maybe $12,000 a year so I can take care of my dad. The people who were at the good job, at the people whose average income was anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 a year, were having trouble buying groceries when this started. The place where I work now and the people that I talk to now who have less income have trouble buying food day to day. You're telling me you're working a full-time job, 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours a week, and you can't afford groceries, that the politician in charge, it doesn't matter if they control the inflation, that the politician in charge is going to stay in office? No, they're not. They're not. So it doesn't matter how much you dislike Trump. He is the candidate, so he won because he's the candidate opposing the people who put us in this current situation. Even if you do the math and you go far enough back and say, yeah, but if he hadn't done that 10 years ago, if he hadn't done that 8 years ago, if this other politician before him hadn't done that 20 years ago, we wouldn't be in this situation. That's fine. But the immediate person responsible, where the buck stops, is the President of the United States. And not just the President, but almost through the line, everywhere turned red. Not because everyone's suddenly Republican, because they just want the person who's currently in office out of office. Yes, there are exceptions. AOC's popular. Yes, there are exceptions. But she's an outsider candidate fighting for a type of socialism that gives money to the people who are hurting and starving. So they see her as a good proponent of their beliefs and of their goals. People want change. Trump is promising change, so they voted for Trump. It's that simple. And when things get better, and they will get better, whoever's in charge will stay in charge. So if things get better under Trump, even if Trump has nothing to do with it, Republicans will stay in office. Democrats need to have healthy candidates and have a healthy party so that way they can win, so that way our government will not be one-sided. We need 2 parties minimum to have a healthy government. And right now we do not have a healthy government. We didn't have a healthy government under Biden, and we will not have a healthy government under Trump, not as long as one party is in control. We need to have healthy opposition. All right. That's it for today. Santiago, your comments were great. I love you, buddy. Thomas, if you're still listening, I know this is more political than many of my shows have ever been. Even the shows that are on politics weren't this political. I hope you're still here. I hope I didn't turn you off. I hope to see you here come Monday. I might do a super secret show on Saturday night where we just do random stuff that's not as deep. B.S. Lewis, I'm pretty sure I pissed you off. But if you're still watching, thank you for watching. And I look forward to seeing you on Monday. And like I said, expect a super secret show on Saturday, possibly on on the other platform, not the other platform, the other streaming service, Streamlabs, just so I can have guests on. I love you all. Remember what I say. Remember what I believe. God loves you. God forgives you. So forgive your enemies. Forgive your neighbor. Forgive yourself, and love God above all. Thank you, and have a great night. Peace. Let's go hear the music. Thomas, what did you think of the show? Give me a review before I get out. I love your reviews. What'd you think? Is this the future of my channel, or is this just a one-off lark? I don't know what the delay is. I got to figure out what the delay is between me talking and people hearing me talk. All right. I'm going to play the music. Thomas, I hope to hear your review before I don't know why I did this. This is so weird. Hi. I hope to see the review before I close out the channel for the night. Have a great night, everyone. All right. Thank you, Thomas. That's good to hear. All right. Good night. Let's hear the ending music.
Yeah, let's go. I'm unstoppable, do the impossible. I'm irresponsible, yet I'm phenomenal. I got an arsenal, I'm dropping bombs, you know. No, I'm not stopping, no. Conquer the obstacle. To the top, here I go, think I'm chosen to be the king of rock, think the people have spoken. I can hear the tick-tock of the clock, I'm in motion. So now I'm gonna pop, causing all this commotion.
Yeah, sometimes I think that I'm unstoppable. Yeah, ready to go, man, lock and load. That's right, I swear to God that I could drop you, bro. Yeah, I got a shot and I ain't stopping, no. That's how I know that I'm unstoppable. That's how I know that I'm unstoppable. Yeah, let's go. I don't care what they all say. That's right, I'ma do this thing my way. Let's go. Been grinding hard on it all day. Okay, we work hard, then we all play. Yeah, I'm addicted to the grind, man. That's right. So I refuse to waste time, man. Yeah. One day it all will be fine, man. Let's go. Gotta commit to the climb. You know we're back with the Guinness, setting records every minute, every track, in addiction to